Hey, Bruce, check this out.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts, Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 85 of Getting Tabled with his death has been highly exaggerated, but he's here and he's still alive, the Bruce.
Yes, I am here. I have a voice and other things. I also work again. It's lovely. And down below us, we have the main man, the only man that gets promotions here, but he's still only a major because nobody cares about Mr. Socks.
That's right. Wait 4 more years. Then I'll be Lieutenant Colonel. That's okay.
Oh god,
25.
then he'll be unbearable.
And above me is George the Yank. So, back again as a full crew. Welcome back, Bruce. It's good to have
Thank you.
back.
I didn't sleep through this episode.
So when you say working, are like your body is working again, or you have to go back to
You're
work?
physically
already?
working.
I physically went back to work this week.
Okay. So you're a contributing member of society again.
Yes. Yes, I was really, really bored. I was quite looking forward to going back to work, actually.
You didn't have any projects to work on? I mean, we've got hobby time coming up later. But I'm sure you're definitely ill in your bed.
Or was your hobby being able to throw your tissues into the trash?
We will talk about a section of my hobby that you two have clearly forgotten about.
So we need to do this?
Yes.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
All right.
Why don't you get us kicked off with that game that you play there, Bruce?
The game that I play, would that be something along the lines of Bushido?
Star Wars Legion? No, it's Star Wars Legion.
No, they haven't released the Gungans yet.
I know that. Dang it.
And they probably never will. And I'm going to continue. They're never going to release Star Wars Legion Gungan, so I'm never going to have to play. It's fine.
All right, talk about some Bushido.
Well, I was just going to say, so the unboxing video of the Gungans needs to be a picture of you holding up the box, being very sad, saying, I lost a bet.
I actually really like that idea. All right, so this is a faction that I've known was coming for about 8 months now, but we couldn't talk about it. Because Ben, who was doing the Bushido series with me, Brother Bear had been made aware of this through discussions with the GCT team. This is a faction that was based around an idea that one of the World Series tournament winners had. So, these are all fox people. Now, anybody that knows Japanese mythology will know that they hold a very special place. And oh my goodness, this box is amazing. My favorite is the one that's holding the serpent in its mouth, because that's the faction that I play. So it's just like, yes, I've killed your faction.
Going through this, my favorite one is the blind archer with its blind companion.
Yes. Yep.
Because that is so like Japanese mythos culture right there. Like you're so attuned that you don't need all your senses.
Yeah.
I don't know why you had to put this in the news, Bruce, because this faction just screams to me.
I think we finally have our answer for George.
I love the aesthetic look of this. I mean, I've loved the samurai. I've loved the shogun. I've all the really good traditional, and when I say traditional, I mean hyper traditional models.
Yeah.
Because this is all purely mystic, and it's such a great look.
Yeah.
It is a really gorgeous looking set as well. I'm going back through the rest of them at this stage. My favorite is probably the guy with the Darth Maul blades. Like the double saber thing.
And his little companion with the scythe hook in his mouth.
The sickle, yeah.
Sickle, that's the scythe is the big one that
Yeah.
And the sickle's the little
I have a feeling he'd struggle to carry a scythe.
He's a mystical fox. He can do whatever he wants.
It's true. Also the one that's holding up the banner with the sun and the moon on it. So these guys come from the temples. This is another one of the temples. So the monks that we had discussed previously, and then the evil monks that we had discussed previously. This is another one from that group of people. And they're just... Inari's judgment is... It just looks amazing. It's £56. It's like... It's currently on pre-release. So... It's currently on pre-release for Gen Con. If you're at Gen Con, you could probably buy it. I suspect that it might all be gone, knowing the Bushido players. They tend to snatch up the stuff over there pretty quickly. But you can still buy it from the storefront at this stage, and it will be coming out for general release, usually 2 or 3 months afterwards. So this will be a general release.
Quick question for you there, Brucey. Since you had prior knowledge, are these going to be a metal or are these going to be resin?
I don't know.
Because like some of the ones we've looked at in the past, you can tell it's a metal model. These
resin.
look like they're
all resin.
Oh, see that's even more for me because it's like I hate metal.
Oh,
I don't.
We share it. We share that. How did I not know this? I rant about my hate of metal frequently.
So, real quick, I looked at it again. The Bard one, where he's got the lute and then he's got like the little flute and then like 2 recorders and stuff like that. He's got the 2 swords together. That one's great too. I don't
really
think.
like.
Go ahead, Socks.
I really like the one that's like the priestess looking with the robes flowing down.
Oh yeah, she's got the traditional like pose with the robes.
Pose. Yeah. I like that one a lot.
I mean, there's none of them that are bad, and I like the fact like there's a couple of them that have the 9 tails as well. She is one of them. That one of the actual foxes have the 9 tails look as well. I don't know if there's actually 9, but that's clearly the idea that's going on there.
The one that's up in the air, kind of leaping down.
Yeah, it's.
I count at least 7. And that's from that one view. So if you flip it around, there might be like 2 more tails hiding.
More that's hiding.
Yeah.
This looks amazing. Even if you're just one of those people that buys models and paints them, this needs to like move up your list. Because I mean it's foxes, so I mean you've got so much more artistic license for fur coloring.
Yeah.
I mean if you go back to the first photo. You've got your traditional red and white. You've got a black one. You've got one that's kind of I don't know how I would call it, but it's majority white with like tips. The tips are red.
Patchy, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like there's so much you could do because it's animal fur. Animal fur. You could do so much more depth with it versus that's skin.
Yeah.
That's darker skin. We did the shading, but it's skin.
And I mean, hell, if you really wanted to go for it, you could paint up the 9 tails one to make it look like the Pokemon if you really wanted to. I'm not saying it's the Pokemon. I'm not saying that. And I know that the Pokemon rips off mythology like there's the same mythology.
I was going to say from Naruto.
That too. I don't know how different they look, honestly.
It looks like a normal fox with like 9 tails. Like they didn't do anything crazy.
Like the tradition. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like a fox. It looks like a dog running cat software.
I just realized that the bard, and I don't know if you said this earlier, but he has an ocarina.
Yeah, he does have an ocarina, yeah.
So this means that he can travel back in time to his own past and become his younger self again. Because you can't talk about ocarina because ocarinas don't exist in the real world. They're only from Zelda. The sad thing is that there are people that believe that. Wait, an ocarina is a real thing? Yes, that's why it's there. All right, moving on. So, this news is about maybe a week old now, maybe a little bit more than that. So the latest edition of War Machine, I think it's pretty safe to say didn't go over very well. Privateer Press's money pit really suffered in this latest edition. There's a few reasons for this. Some of this is opinion, some of this is fact. All of the major players that were responsible for a lot of their success, well, not all, a significant amount of them left and created Atomic Mass games. And
That rings a bell.
that's the Marvel Crisis Protocol.
I know.
And War Machine has kind of been struggling ever since. Privateer Press do have a couple of things, but Warmer Hordes really was their moneymaker for a long time, so they have been seriously struggling. We haven't spoken about it much. It's not exactly been a secret that they've been struggling. It's been fairly well known. I mean, the player base down here is almost non-existent at this point. I mean, it does exist, but there was a few things that contributed. They also stopped doing their whole press gangers thing, which was their version of the TT Agents. Well, TT Agents is TT Combat's version of that. So that didn't help.
Do you know how much this game suffered?
I know
I have an army of it, and I forgot it was a thing. That's how bad it suffered.
Oh wow! I think it's safe to say that has more to do with you than it does with the game, because that's not something that could have happened just in the last 2 years.
Year and a half.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I stand
Like
corrected.
that's the last time I literally touched my stuff was a year and a half ago, maybe.
Fair enough. I have never played Warmer Hordes. I do own some of the models. My problem with Warmer Hordes is aesthetically, most of it doesn't do much for me. And that's just a personal thing. I'm not hating on Privateer Press. It's just aesthetically, a lot of the models don't do much for me. And it's not really something that... I do own some stuff. I bought their... what's the horror-themed one that I got in the end, where we had a lot of trouble trying to get it back in the Hotel Z one? I don't remember. It was all nursery rhymes and horror-themed stuff. And I've got some of their crocodiles and gators as well, because it's crocodiles and gators. Anyway, there's a new edition of Warmer Hordes coming out. War Machine coming out. And this is fairly significant. This is a huge departure. Now, we will be linking this article for those of you that haven't read it, because I'm not going to be able to go over all of this. There is a section of the rules that's currently available for free to download. This is part of a completely reimagining. They're designing this so that you can go back and play with all of your old models as well, not just the new stuff. But the big thing with MK4, the big change, is that they are going to be going across into 3D printing for their models as well. So you will now have the option of buying at retail, the more expensive route for those that want to continue doing that. Alternatively, you will be able to instead buy the STL files and print them yourself. So this is the first major company that is doing what the industry has been waiting for somebody to do for 7 or 8 years at this point. I mean, it's no secret that the technology is there now. Like, you could do that. I'm kind of surprised that Privateer Press is the one to do it, honestly. I thought it would be... I mean, there's been a few small companies that's kind of like, I'm going to try and introduce a game, and that's the thing behind it. But we haven't seen one of the larger companies turn around and go, no, we're actually going to change our stance on this.
So here's probably why. Given how much they've probably suffered with, staff leaving, starting another successful company, successful game, and I would say quality, like one of the big turnoffs for my Protector of Mennoth that I have is the quality of the miniatures is not that great. If I were to compare, if I was to compare it to like TT Combat, Games Workshop, I would put their stuff on par with some of the Finecast from Games Workshop.
They have a history of using that horrible restic stuff too.
And some of the kits are resin and metal parts combined.
This is a personal thing that may not be a very popular thing to say. For a very long time, there was a large percentage of the tabletop community that would hate on Mantic for using restic. And don't get me wrong, I hate restic too. It's horrible stuff. But all of those same people would then turn around and go, no, but it's okay for Privateer Press because they're different. Where the material was exactly the same. And the problem I had with it is that Privateer Press would just advertise that it's plastic. When, I mean, technically they're right, but that's not what you think of when you think of plastic. And it becomes an issue because it's one of those things where, well, technically it's plastic, but we all know you're calling it plastic because everybody thinks it's something else. So I will throw a little shade for that in the past. Warmer Hordes is also one of those games that's extremely competitive. There is almost no casual fan base. It's all very competitive.
I would put it on par with an Infinity. Like it's a very steep learning curve. No, I would say Infinity's
in
my area.
I would say Infinity's easier on a casual front.
My area, other way around. All the Infinity guys were super hyper competitive, and the people that did play Warmer Hordes, they were competitive, but they weren't the uber competitive. Like they weren't traveling to the conventions and tournaments and stuff constantly.
I'll say this: I've never heard an Infinity player brag about, and I'm going to use the phrase, clubbing a baby seal. Somebody that hadn't played the game before and didn't know what they were doing, so they destroyed them in a tournament and embarrassed them in front of their friends on purpose. And he was bragging about it.
You're going to find that in any game regardless. So I'm not.
If somebody did that, like 40K has a fairly, there's a percentage of that audience that's very toxic. It's a percentage of the audience.
I'm not going to disagree. That's what I said. You're going to find that in every community.
If you did that at a 40K night, you would be shown the door. Like the community does not put up with that stuff because you need new people in the game.
I'm just going to say Spain and leave it at that. So,
yeah, I like. It's not all of the Warmer Hordes players either. It's a percentage of them, but this is not an unusual occurrence, unfortunately.
Based on playing, 40K, playing Warmer Hordes, playing Infinity, I'm going to put Warmer Hordes in that same category as Infinity. It's a popular game.
Oh yeah,
and the people who play it, they're going to mop the table with you if you're not on their level. And the problem is the people who are playing it, they're all on that level. I don't have a casual. I've never seen a casual Infinity player at my FLGS. So,
and I should correct myself. It wasn't a tournament. It was actually a casual night. Well, it was the Warmer Hordes night. It wasn't a tournament. That I misspoke. Okay. Anyway, enough of the shade.
Next one.
Wait.
What?
Wait, I'm not ready yet.
Hurry up right now.
Okay, so this has started now with the announcement. On screen now, there's an actual roadmap of how long this is going. This is going to be continuing through pretty much over the next 12 months of everything getting its release, everything happening. So just as an example, the Mercenary Solos, which is the Crocodile people that I own, they will be happening at December this year. There's a whole heap of updates for all of the legacy stuff. Grimkin is the name of the one that I was trying to think of earlier, which is mostly still in its box. So if you do have a specific army and you want to know when your rules for that will be coming, you'll be able to look at this. Like I said, it's all in the show notes. I think this is fairly significant, as much as I did throw like a little bit of shade around the game. There's nothing wrong with a game being competitive, just for the record. I think this is very interesting. Whether it's going to bring the game up to the popularity that it did have previously is yet to be seen. I'm not one of these people that believes that just because a successful person that wrote your rules has left, that a game can't still be popular. Warhammer 40k has clearly never been as popular since all of their creators left. I'm being facetious, obviously. I do think this is something that could help. Whether it does is another question. I just thought it was worth covering because this is very significant. But George wants to move on because he wants to talk about Moonstone stuff.
Well, I figured you wanted to talk about it since you're the only one that actually has Moonstone.
I do have Moonstone. All right. So, as part of Gen Con weekend, Goblin King Games have opened up the coffers, which is their limited edition stuff. All of these minis are things that were available exclusively for Kickstarters in the past, and they still have some left over, so they're opening them up every so often so that you can buy them. So, for example, the one I want is Diana Enraged because she's amazing. I do have the regular Diana mini, but I don't have the Enraged one because I didn't back the Kickstarter. It's just a gorgeous mini. It's just a more aggressive version of the original mini. We also have Violet Impulse, so Violent Impulse, Zariah, which is, again, gorgeous. Callista is really nice as well. Voth was available, or Voth and Homunculus. So Voth is like a librarian, and Homunculus is his assistant. He's carrying around a giant book. It looks like that one's actually sold out, unfortunately, which is a real shame, because I thought that one was gorgeous. Callista is quite gorgeous as well. She's got this giant cape. She's like a druid-looking Lishvolt person. I really like this stuff. It's really nice. The Angry Jackalope is another one that's... this was their Easter limited edition one. So that's one that I suspect that we'll see come back. I don't think that we'll see these again once they're gone, unfortunately. I need to make an order because I want Diana Enraged. But yeah, this stuff's really nice. I want. Gimme, gimme. Any preferences from you guys?
The Enraged one looks pretty good. It's very, it looks like it's in motion. You know, like you can tell that it's moving.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those sculpts where, you know, it's a very dynamic sculpt.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
As opposed to the original where, I mean, it still has movement in it, but not to the same level.
yeah.
No.
It kind of half looks like a shield around her, sort of. Still a gorgeous mini, though.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. TT Combat have a couple of new terrain things that are coming out this week. The thing I wanted to concentrate on, we have new boats. I just want to give credit first and foremost to the joke, and I don't know who wrote the joke, but George, what's Vampire's favourite boat? A blood vessel. I don't know who wrote that joke, but it's amazing. You get all of the credit in the world. So the Doctors have a giant paddle ship because it's a giant paddle ship. Why would they not have one? I mean, seriously. The Vatican have the Caravel. The Strigoi have a galley. Most of them are galleys and frigates, honestly. But they all look very, very different. I really, really like the Vatican one. I mean, we've seen the sails before. The sails are kind of, yep, we've seen them before. But this stuff is just really, really nice. I love that the Strigoi have a coffin in the middle of the ground as this decoration to the deck. The Rashar have like actual cages where their fish monsters are obviously hiding. Kind of reminds me of the Sarlacc pit in Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this stuff. I mean, it's just terrain essentially, but it's really gorgeous terrain.
Why did they put the wheel in the middle of the paddle boat?
That was my question too, because paddle boats usually have them on the outside or on the back.
It's either on the side or out the back, not the middle. Do you know why? Because then you have a hole in the middle of your boat
while it's spinning around.
I think I know the answer to this question. Because if it was at the back, it wouldn't be an object on the terrain piece. It's been put there deliberately so that it's a line of sight blocking feature. I would argue. I mean, you're not wrong, but I suspect that the reason they've done it is because if it was at the back, then it doesn't really become a feature that you have to move around. Whereas because of the way that they've designed it, it will help block line of sight, and it will make the game more interesting. And it gives you something else to launch off. Because part of Carnivale is the running up and jumping off of ledges and stuff.
Oh, parkour.
Yeah, pretty much. That would be my guess. I mean, I obviously don't know because I haven't spoken to whoever designed this. But that would be my guess.
Did they have paddle boats in the UK at any part of their history? That's probably why they did it. They don't know what one looks like.
Not that I'm aware of. But I could be wrong.
I love how personal you're taking this design choice. That doesn't
because it's
have
an American
to be right.
icon.
It doesn't have to be right. It's just a piece of terrain to look cool. You do know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and?
Louis, unfortunately, George is upset and offended by your piece of terrain, and he's decided that you need to redesign the whole thing. So, I guess that's a thing.
I actually just want to see if I can get Lewis to spit water again. So,
Louis, not Lewis. Wrong one.
No, Lewis.
Oh no,
No,
right.
Lewis.
It was Lewis that. Yeah, sorry. Never mind. I just remembered that we're talking about two different people, even though one of them doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, now one of them doesn't exist.
Well, no, he works in the real world now, so we have to acknowledge his presence as being real.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think that's the idea. All right, moving on. Armada, but not that one. Sorry, Socks.
No, I know.
This is a pretty simple one.
This is the Armada with water, not space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kings of War Armada, they have released a whole heap of bundles. These are ones that you can only order directly from Mantic themselves. Basically, it's another buy-in option. Basically, you're buying a bundle of everything. So, usually everything gets sold as a starter fleet, a booster fleet, and then there's a large ship that you can buy on top of that. That is how I brought my stuff. This is just, essentially, it's just a bundle of stuff that's cheaper to buy than you would have bought separately. So, for example, the one that I will open right now, because we've seen all of this stuff before, the one that I'm going to open is the Empire of Dust, because that's the one that I own almost everything of. I don't have the flyers. Whereas normally to buy everything it'd be $183. It's only $146 in the bundle, and you get literally everything. So you've got your starter fleet here, you've got your booster fleet, you've got your flyers, and you've got your big dreadnought looking thing. This is a really smart idea. I mean, if you're going to buy into this game, you're going to need all of the stuff anyway, because, well, otherwise you're not really experiencing the game to its fullest. Is it the most exciting of releases that we've ever seen? No, it's just a bundle. But I thought this was very cool, honestly.
I personally like it when a company does bundles because they're actually making an attempt and an effort. I mean, one, they're trying to get people interested in the game to buy more stuff so they make more money. But when you do a bundle like this, I mean, what is that? You're saving $40.
Yeah.
You know, instead of 180, you're spending 146.
Yeah.
You know, that's a significant enough amount of money. Someone might be like, "Yeah, all right, I'll do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes it
That's
easy
what-
because you don't have to try to figure out what to buy. You can just buy the one thing.
Right.
As
Yeah,
opposed
that
to,
too.
I'm not going to mention certain other companies that do bundles, but then they don't actually put a discount and they're selling it at the same price. They just don't tell you that.
Yeah, so
I'm not going to mention any
AMG
Games Workshops because they do that every week.
Well, and I was going to say, those starters, typically you buy those, and then you start playing some games and you realize, well, this is junk. Why is this in this box? I need this and this and this.
Yeah, that's a different argument, but yes, that is a problem as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. That's why I think AMG did their Battle Force boxes too. That way they can get folks into a game. They can buy a box for $120 and
But
get
those battle forces are really, really tempting. They are really good value.
very, very good deal because the ATST by itself is about $70.
Yeah. And who doesn't want an ATST?
I already got 2. I don't need a third.
You sure? I mean, you could do
I
it
can't
with a third.
fill. I can only fill 2.
Well, you got to have one so the boys can use one then.
No. They can use their clones or their droids.
Hey, you need a third one so you can break it and turn it to rubble after the Ewoks wrecked it.
I got that.
Of course they did. Of course they actually did that.
Is it a resin? Is it resin?
Yeah. It's resin, but the legs.
That's nice.
There you go.
No, that was not ruined by the Ewoks. It just fell over. No, the one where they hit it with the logs and it like crunched the top. You need to get a third one and go, and like that is not squished. Go back and watch Return of the Jedi, and you will see how
You want
squished
to
that.
go that much squished? Anyways,
I don't think the original one should have squished that much either, to be honest.
I don't think so
It
either.
looked like it was a balloon. Anyway, moving on. We're not here to talk about that. All
You
right.
don't want to talk about Stormtrooper jelly?
No, not really. Games Workshop is a company that are a very big company that make a lot of money. And whilst I will have a little bit of shade to throw at them later, at the moment I'm going to give them a little bit of praise because they're doing something right now that I don't think they've ever done. So for WarCry, and WarCry is going to be why I throw shade at them, by the way. They're currently releasing rules for free instead of releasing a compendium book. I believe this is happening because they were struggling to get the book out in time and it was going to be too late. So they've just given the rules out and they're obviously hoping that people will go and buy the compendium later when it releases. It's just current crisis has kind of forced them into a situation where they've obviously felt they had no choice. But they've gone and released the rules for all of the other factions. Not just picking and choosing, but they've done all of the order stuff, all of the chaos stuff, all of the destruction stuff, and all of the death stuff, and all of the old factions.
For free.
For free. This is
Games Workshop does.
very
They don't know that word.
Games Workshop. No, I know. This is why I'm covering it, because this is something that they don't do.
Free to them is like a dude from Princess Bride and Inconceivable.
Yeah.
Free to them is usually, well, we're going to release this as part of White Dwarf, which you have to pay for. Look, to be fair, big companies don't have to do things for free. This is a very big deal because, like, of all companies, they don't do this stuff. Now, obviously, they're doing it because they're hoping that people that didn't buy into the game the first time will now go out and buy all of these other factions so they can play the new version. Which, from everything that I've heard, is a significant improvement on a game that was already better. Most people will probably tell you that WarCry is probably one of, if not the best game that they've produced in the last 6 years. Is it as popular as 40k and Age of Sigmar? No. But for a rules standpoint, it actually stands above them quite significantly. It
So-
holds together quite well.
I think more companies need to do this. And let me be a little more specific on that. Like the core basic rules, like this is the movement phase, this is the shooting phase, like that stuff. I think more companies just need to say, here are the rules, have them. If you'd like it in a book.
That's not what they've done. This is the rules specifically for the factions. It's what
Right.
they would normally call a compendium.
Yeah. So, but I think more companies need to just focus on just getting those rules out there for free. And then if they want to do the compendium stuff, like this, where they do it for free, sure, that's fine. Making money off books is not, except for maybe the novels, because that's a completely different thing. But this is not it's the minis, and I think if you get the rules out there for players to get their hands onto more easily, more ease of accessibility, and not have to download them from a Russian torrent site, you're probably going to get more people playing because they don't have to spend $40 on a book.
AMG you can. So the thing is with AMG, when they update their rules, which they do quite often because of all the new units that come out, they have new keywords that work with the units. But you can download all the rules for free online.
Yeah.
For Star Wars Legion, Armada. So
I'm very impressed with this. Mainly, I would not be as impressed by this if it was anybody else. I'm impressed by this because it's Games Workshop.
Yeah,
and we're not the first to cover
yeah.
this or make these comments. Like, for those of you out there that might be new to the hobby, Games Workshop is most likely the company that you get directed towards the most, because it has the largest player base. I'm going to say, unfortunately, I don't hate Games Workshop. Don't get me wrong. I do get accused of that regularly. I got accused of that when I did my review of that awful magazine recently. Like, seriously, don't buy Imperium. It's the contents is garbage of the magazine. And ultimately, you don't actually save any money either. I mean, it looks like you save money, but you don't. Anyway, but the reason I say unfortunately is because most of the Games Workshop games are kind of just compared to the rest of the industry. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not great. 40k is not a great game. It's not horrible. It's just not great. It's just popular, and that's not really the same thing. It is easier to get a game of. I mean, George, of all people, you know this, because nobody else plays anything else in your area.
I could go get a game of 40k right now versus like a game of Sigmar. I probably couldn't get a game of Sigmar.
Sigmar is a better game.
And that's the same. Yeah, Sigmar's a better game. It's the same company, but more people. It has tanks. It has gun. It goes pew pew pew.
Yeah, and I completely get that. I mean, I've almost rebought in 40k how many times now? I mean, I did it last year and resold everything. I think
3 times since I've known you.
Yeah, probably. WarCry is a game that's much smaller, so it means that it's easier for people to get into. The rule set is very streamlined. It's never going to be a 40k. It's the equivalent of a kill team, really. But it's a game that works really well. And the reason that I say, unfortunately, when the player base is because there are games out there. Star Wars is probably the only one that I would say is as infallible as 40k is. But it could still get to a point where the player base burns out, maybe. I doubt it, but it might. They will get to a point where they'll start to struggle to find things to release.
Well, I will say this about Star Wars, and Sox will probably agree with this. Probably the biggest thing that will ever hurt Star Wars Legion is when the toxic portion of the fandom starts playing the game.
I don't think that'll happen though, because that they're very different sort of people.
They are, but the one thing that Legion has going for it right now is Disney is putting out new shows. And so a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that's coming out is from all these shows.
Yeah.
So
What'll eventually happen is they'll start redoing older things that were released a while ago.
no, I have
that
to agree.
don't
They're
look
going to
as
have
good.
to.
Like Games Workshop has done with their guardsmen.
Yeah.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Oh, I know. The difference is the worst of the Star Wars Legion stuff doesn't look anywhere near as bad as the worst of the Games Workshop stuff because it's not as old, so it's not. It's also probably worth noting, and no offense to Fantasy Flight Games, a lot of their stuff doesn't look anywhere near as good as the average stuff either. Like the minis for Star Wars Legion are good, they're not great. There are some that are great, but I would argue that they're the exception. It'll be interesting to see how that changes.
I will say some of the new stuff that Atomic Mass Games has worked on since they've taken over, I've liked.
Darth Maul in particular really stood out to me.
The new one?
Yeah.
You talking about the new one?
Yeah.
Because I haven't painted him yet, but that's...
He looks amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
So...
Moving on. There's a new Kill 10 box coming. We knew this already.
I was going to say, didn't we already talk about these guys? Because it's Kroot.
Yes, but we now have everything being shown.
Oh.
As opposed to 4 models. So I have mixed opinions on this box set. We'll get to those later. So, we got a giant amount of terrain. This basically looks exactly what we thought it was going to be. It's a giant Space Hulk. But rather than it being the Blood Angels and Tyranids, it's the Imperial Navy that I do still like. I mean, they're fine. They're not the faction I'm interested in. So, I do love their shotguns, just because shotguns are cool, and I don't understand why there's not more shotguns in 40k. Like, it's not like you can't make a shotgun be stupid overpower. But no, I really like this stuff. The guy with the shield, where he's like literally using the shield to pump the gun, that's really cool. But the one that grabbed my attention, of course, because I've been screaming for it for years, the Kroot.
It's not the little skull servitor thing with the football?
So, the Kroot, we have seen 4 previously. We now have the entire team here. The thing I really do like about this is that it's more Kroot, and it's something like there's a significant player base that have wanted more Kroot for a while. The thing I don't like about this is they're all very kind of mono pose. I'm just standing here. They don't really.
There's no action.
They don't really feel like they're doing anything.
You got the one with the sniper rifle, and you got the one shooting from the hip, but yeah, everyone else is just kind of like.
Especially Lloyd from from On Tabletop. His comment was something along the lines of like that the Kroot are supposed to be, and the reason I'm saying who it was that said this is I'm giving credit. Like the Kroot are supposed to be these fast-moving birdmen, and these guys are just standing here. And his problem with the old kit was that the old kit was basically just looked like they were just dawdling through a town. Like they don't look like they're running, they don't look like they're fast, they just look like they're human, but with bird feet. I mean, I love the sculpting on these, they look gorgeous. But if you buy 2 or 3 lots of these because you want to field them all, they're all going to look this. Games Workshop are doing this a lot lately. All of their stuff is monopose. All of it now. And this is the first bit of shade I'm really going to throw. There was a point where Games Workshop had a point of difference where all of their kits were multi-part. And you could change their poses. But if you want to do that with any Games Workshop kit now, or anything that's been released over the last few years, all of it has to be done with green stuff if you want to redo it.
So it just occurred to me, and I'm going to tell you why they're doing that, why they're making everything so monopose.
Cheaper.
Because
It's actually very
How
hard.
no? How many people don't like the Games Workshop heads? How many people want a different type of gun? How many people want a different type of whatever? So
That's
if
a
you
good
make
point,
it monopose, you can't go to a third-party bit manufacturer and say, "I'm going to get this stuff and throw it on this model."
Yeah.
I
That's a good point.
think the monopose like that, I think is I'd say a very intelligent, because when they do that, they're able to get very good poses though too. But I think it's their attempt of trying to keep
I think
people
these
from
are the poses on these are okay. I don't think they're great.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at some of the the Blood Angels and some of the new Primera stuff and everything, some of those look pretty good. But I when you make it so you have to use this part or green stuff the hell out of it,
Yeah.
are you going to go through the effort and buy the part you want from the third party seller and then green stuff it on, or are you just going to put the kit together as is and call it done?
Yeah.
I mean, there's still that, I'd say that 15 to 20% of the community that's still going to do it regardless.
Look, you can.
But
It's more work now than it used to be.
Well, yeah, but
You
I'm
can't
saying
just swap
like
a piece out. You have to sculpt the thing off.
that's what I'm talking about. They're reducing it to maybe 20% of the community versus 60% of the community.
I mean, there are YouTube channels that are big, and this is all they do is just they just kit bash stuff.
Yeah,
Because it's like kit bashing has always been a thing, but it's more of an art now than it used to be. Oh no, that's not fair. I mean, it was always an art, but I can't just slap things together anymore. I have to actually be able to sculpt or carefully remove things so that there's not giant gaps. And look, this is still a set that I'm interested in. I definitely still want the Kroot. I will own the Kroot, but whether I buy it as this box set or later will be determined from exactly the same argument that I'm about to have with our next story. Hey, George, we get to have the price gouging discussion again.
yay!
Yeah.
Wait, is that an Australian dollar? Oh my god!
Okay, so in America, this is a $240 box set. So Heart of Gur is genuinely a box that I wanted to buy because WarCry is a thing that I just finished raving about. I did not buy this. It's 140 something. I don't remember the exact price in pounds, but it works out to be in Australia 240 something dollars, but they're charging 390. So we threw shade at these guys for how long? For slapping an extra $80 on top of boxes for no reason. This is an extra $150. Need I also remind you, the Games Workshop for the last 2 quarters have had massive drops in sales in our country as well. And I credit that to customers actually starting to speak with their wallets because they're growing tired of it. Which is the reason why we didn't get the price increase. Except we did get the price increase, they just did it slyly.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
In one hand, they turned around and said, no, it's okay, Australia, we understand. We're not going to give Australia the price increase because we've been doing it for too long. We understand that. And then they've just gone around and manipulated their prices to do it anyway and hope that nobody would notice. Clearly what they're doing is because people are growing tired of this and they're buying things elsewhere, they're either importing them from international, don't get me wrong, there are people that do that, or they're just going elsewhere because, I'm sorry, but it's a giant tabletop industry, and some people are growing really tired of this. I will also argue that part of this is Australia's own fault because Australia have excused Games Workshop's price gouging for so long that they kind of deserve it. I'm an Australian. I'm saying this. I do think to some extent this is our own fault. And
So
to those out there that want to scream at me again for saying that it's not price gouging, it is price gouging. It's literally the definition of price gouging. They are fixing their own prices to take advantage of a market. But they are literally price gouging by the dictionary definition.
So I converted their 140 pound price to dollars. It's $170. They're, like you said, it's $230 for us here in the States. So they put another $60 on top for us here in the States. Not that I'm going to buy it, but
No.
just more.
Yeah, no,
relevance
that is
to
a good
your
point.
point.
I did intend to mention that as well. No, it's not just us. Yeah, they did price gouge for you as well. My thing just froze. Why did my thing freeze? So, yeah, it's an argument that I know people are tired of us making as well. But they just continue to... Look, don't get me wrong. I understand a business is allowed to set their own prices. And if people don't like it, hey, they should just not buy it. Well, that's what people in Australia have been doing for 6 months now. And because they're doing that, they're raising the prices so that those that do buy get punished for it. That's their business decision. We're losing money in Australia, therefore we will charge more to increase our profits.
Or to make it the lost revenue stream.
Like, I'm sorry, but this is what puts companies out of business. Games Workshop released their quarterly finances, which is how I know that they're not doing well in Australia. Well, I mean, we don't usually cover that stuff because it's kind of boring, honestly.
Did you see New Zealand's?
I'm guessing it's even worse because it always is.
460 New Zealand dollars compared to what it should be about 270.
So they're literally paying double.
Yeah.
No, not literally. It's almost double.
Almost double.
Have a look at Japan. I bet you that's even worse too. Because Japan and New Zealand had it the worst. No, New Zealand was the worst, according to the research that was done last year. Like, there's a whole heap of people out there talking at the moment about how whether their current finances are a sign that Games Workshop are dead or a sign that they're doing better than they ever were. And I think that entire argument is completely pointless because Games Workshop are not struggling. They are making record profits. But they're making record profits at expense of their long-term business because none of these customers will stick around. None of them.
I don't think you can find... I don't think they threw to Japan because I'm getting a load error when I try and switch to Japan.
That mustn't be available there then. Okay, that makes sense. So, once again, Australia and New Zealand are being treated like...
criminals?
I was going to say crap, but sure. Yeah. Look, like I said, I understand that there's people that are sick of this argument. I understand that. But until people start listening, this won't change. You're being taken advantage of. You're being financially abused by the company that you're supposed to be a giant fan of. You need to speak with your wallet. Like, you're never going to... Well, we are never going to get the prices according to the Great British Pound. Like, that is not... And make no mistake, they are already making stupid profits in the UK as well. And then they're charging us more on top of that already stupidly expensive box over there. But until people continue to listen, nothing will change.
Don't die on us, Bruce.
That's the reason why I never got into Games Workshop.
Yeah. Which is funny because at that point they were never as bad as they are now. All right, moving on. One of the companies that legit probably have a chance to actually take on Games Workshop at this point, because they do actually have a rule set that could, genuinely challenge the fan base in a way that they enjoy is Conquest. It's mass battle. The minis are a little bit bigger, really nice and detailed. A lot of it's hard plastic. And the way that the game works is not the same, but it definitely pushes some of those same buttons that the Games Workshop products do. Is Conquest. We've got a couple of new things coming from Conquest. I'm not covering all of them. There's this new one for the 100 Kingdoms called the Servite, which I think is gorgeous. This is a command upgrade, so this is someone that helps your leaders. So I believe it's the Noble that gets these guys, and it gives him extra bonuses. There's also a Drill Master, which is all kinds of gorgeous. I think this is my second favourite of the three we're looking at. Because he's just...
That is a very good
really
looking
pretty.
mini.
Yeah. And then finally, my actual favourite, which is for the Old Dominion, which is this is their new army, which is the undead Greek-looking guys, is the Dark Cenotaph. And it's literally a guy that's dragging a coffin around. And it's a stone coffin that he's dragging around. I love that it's been designed to go into the bases like that as well. So it's got two bases, you'll notice.
So that it fits on the movement tray thing. So I'm going to say this right now just because it's hilarious. Because I'm hilarious. If I were to play this faction, I would not use this mini. I would find a copy of the guy from Holy Grail pulling the cart saying, "Bring out your dead," for this mini.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
That would be a good
I love
one.
that. Or you do
I'm
that
gonna
for a second one.
Right, yeah. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think the Drill Master is the superior of the three minis.
That's fine. Opinions are things that you're allowed to have. I am going to let you two talk for a second.
I think that Drill Master is, like I said, the superior mini just because it has the look of the grizzled leader of like, do this because if you don't do it this way, you're gonna be dead.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm not dead is because I do it this way. Listen to me. You know, like I just that's what I feel when I look at that mini.
And if you think you're going to prove me wrong, you won't be proven wrong because I'll kill you before we get there. Personally.
With this pinky I'm pointing at you with. The cenotaph I do like though. I mean I think that is a pretty cool idea of, you know, hauling around the dead kind of thing, you know, and the sarcophagus and stuff like that. I think my idea for doing the Monty Python Bring Out Your Dead cart dude is brilliant though.
I actually think you could easily convert this into something like that without having to do too much. All you need is the cart.
All you'd really need is some wheels, technically. Just throw some wheels on that, change its angle, and put a couple screws off of it, and just set it down in his hands.
Hypothetically, you could just do something that represents that and have just a whole heap of bodies lying over that coffin.
Yeah.
You'd have to explain it then, but there's going to be people you'll have to explain that joke to anyway.
We're probably getting to the point to where there's people who are like, "What's Monty Python?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
The holy hand grenade, the rabbit.
When it comes to this guy, I think that the thing that makes it for me is his hand behind his back as he's telling the guy off. That's what makes the Drill Master for me. Because it feels so noble.
Well, and Socks can probably attest to this too, because he got yelled at almost as badly as I did. They only gesticulate with one hand when they address you like that. The other hand is, not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because it makes it even more effective.
And
It's a giant mind game.
I only need one hand to yell at you with.
Usually in the form of a blade.
Do you know why they do a knife hand like that?
Same reason politicians do.
If you point at someone, for the problem, there's 3 more pointing back at you. But if you knife hand, you're just the problem.
Yeah.
All
right, and that's it for the news. So, we are going to talk about an indie.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
Yeah, so this showed up in my Facebook feed at tabletopstronghold.com, super easy to find. I actually did all the reading on the guy's website because there's not a lot to this website. There's not a lot to this
really,
product.
really simple. I suspect that this is made through one of the template type websites like what we've used.
The guy's in West Virginia. So, to give you an idea, West Virginia is slightly more civilized than Wyoming as far as population. Slightly. But it is a magnetic MDF carrying case for your miniatures. And it comes in 3 sizes. Mag Case Mini, Mag Case, and Mag Case Extra Large. It's pretty straightforward. It's a box with an acrylic door that, lays down, and you have trays that are magnetic that slide out that carry your army. I think this is a really good idea, just for the fact of it's comparable in price to some of the other cases out there, with the majority of those cases being a foam. And I'm one of those people where I do not like to use foam because I'm already handling my minis enough. I don't need to be, rubbing my minis on foam as I take them in and out of the case.
Yeah.
So, and that's just me personally. There's some people who are like, well, I don't care. Just what I've seen. I literally saw some guy. He just puts the stuff in a cardboard box.
Yeah,
and puts it in the back seat of his car.
When I started.
So the price points I think are pretty on par here. $90 for the small one, $150 for the big one, $225 for the extra large. Yeah. So, and I don't know, Bruce, if you want to open up the extra large one and then go to one of the last photos, one of the last 2 photos where he's got all the trays pulled out.
Yep.
That's a lot to carry in that case.
It is.
So, and great, that is the extra large one. The mini one could do 2 to 3 of those trays. The mini one can also carry a full size knight in it as well. So it's not a small case either. But I thought this was for the US. It's free shipping, which makes sense because it'll ship flat. You have to put it together. One of Bruce's arguments and complaints, and I do understand what he's talking about. It is just MDF. It is 1/4-inch MDF, so or not 1/4-inch. 1/4-inch, not 1/8 inch. So I mean, it's a thicker, heavier duty MDF, and the sides are some of them look like it's double thickness.
There are sections of the world where this product is completely unviable, and I would argue that socks lives in one of them. Because there's certain parts of the year where it's just too humid, and it's just not going to survive.
Or
I live in another one of them.
In my case.
Yeah.
But you would have to have a case for your case at this point. The other downside of this is an NDF case in this. You're going to have to be careful with how you travel with this, because it's not going to be the. There's metal cases out there that you can buy for minis, which you can literally throw because it's metal. Battle foam is more expensive than this. It's the most expensive one on the market. When you very first showed this to me, I was looking at the XL and I'm like, this is battle foam money. Why would you even consider this? And I did back down on that eventually because I realized, oh wait, there's smaller ones. Okay, that's a little bit different.
Yeah. The XL one.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I do get this, and I'm not hating on this. I'm just making it people aware. MDF is a very fragile material at times. So if you're going to be carrying this around in your car or your boot, you're going to want to pack it carefully so that it's not going to be thrown around. If it's thrown, it won't survive.
For the US listeners, a boot is a trunk.
Yes. Now, I would also argue that you shouldn't be throwing your bags around to begin with. Like, they will only protect your minis so much.
Yeah. I mean, for your case where you're on a bike, yeah, this is probably not a good choice for you, Bruce.
This is not an option for me at all.
For someone like myself, where it's like, you know, I go to the store, it's literally just me and my car. This can go sit in the footwell in the passenger seat where, you know, it's within arm's reach kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think this is a good price wise, you know, and, you know, you could probably, you know, throw sealant on there to help, you know, moisture proof it from humidity and stuff like that. But I thought this was like a good attempt in the industry.
It's a legitimately new idea too. I mean,
yeah.
Wow. This guy has clearly taken the build your own metal cases idea and just done it with MDF. Like he's made a market for himself very, very well here.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing that surprises me. Whenever you're looking at MDF type stuff, one of the easiest things to do is to add personalization. Well, easy is not actually the right term to use here because there is actually a lot of work in the back end that needs to go into it. But this guy doesn't seem to have this option at all. And maybe it's because of the work that has to go into it. I don't know. But it would be a very easy source of extra income to charge 20 or 30 bucks to add a logo. Well, it depends.
Add a logo.
The problem with 10 or 15 bucks, like 10 or 15 bucks is probably more text rather than logos. Because if I sent someone our logo, for example, to add to an MDF template, they actually have to recreate it. They can't just use the logo I send them. So when it comes to pictures, it's actually a little bit more difficult. But I mean, he doesn't, like, there's not even that there. I'd like replacing the Stronghold logo with some text or having text below the Stronghold logo that says George, Major Socks, or anything like that. Just a section where you could have text on it would be a really, like, text in particular would be something that would be very, very simple for him to do. But then he could charge extra for it because then he'd have to cut one specifically for that person and he couldn't just send out and
pull it off the shelf.
Mass product.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's why it's an added extra. But it's an extra source of income. And I mean, if it's going to cost him 20 minutes of time, obviously he adds that into the price. That, like, this is the whole point.
Yeah.
You don't lose yourself money. But I don't know. I mean, maybe he's decided not to do it because he decided that it's just too much work, or I don't know. I'm just surprised because it is something that is fairly standard in this sort of stuff and very much could be an extra source of income.
Yeah. Like I said, I saw this and I thought this was, you know, an interesting thing to bring up because, you know, there's so many options out there for Army transport, and 90% of them are all custom foam or pluck foam.
And here's the only thing that we haven't touched on here, which is sitting here on the website and people will see it. These prices that we are looking at include postage within the US, or at least I assume it's that. I make the assumption that it's probably the 48 because there's
typically a lot of the freight companies, you know, they don't honor the same time frame for delivery to Alaska and Hawaii, but it's included in their freight area because they're already traveling there.
Okay.
So, like, they won't do a 2-day for Hawaii at that price because it's so much further. Like, they have to get to California, then it's another day to get out to Hawaii. they're already going there. They just can't get it there that quickly for that price.
And people that live there are usually aware of this.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
but the fact that it
I don't-
includes the postage makes this a much better deal than what I thought it did initially. Because I acknowledged my error initially of, it's like, that's battle phone money, I don't know. And it's not, well, I mean, it is battle phone money on the large one, but it's also huge. But also at the same time, that includes the shipping on the damn thing.
and it includes the magnets. And it includes the magnets to put on your minis to attach to the base.
True, actually, we didn't cover that either.
Yeah, that's another thing. I actually sent the guy a message too, and he says if you want extra trays, because the mini, right? I'm kind of interested in the mini. It's $90 with 2 trays, or $100 with 3 trays. But if I want a 4th tray, I can order just the 4th tray.
Oh, okay. Because that's not much on the website. Yeah.
Well, he said that it's in our email. Let me pull up that email real quick. Where's the email? So, yes, extra trays can be ordered upon request due to high volume of orders right now. A good problem to have. He doesn't have it listed on the website.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if you want a 4th tray,
I suspect that may be why the personalization's not there as well.
Right. So, but for the price, it's
show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if you read the about, it's him, and he was looking for a better option to transport his stuff. All the stuff in the photos, those are his armies, and he was looking for a better option and decided to make it. And there you go. So, at some point, I would like to, possibly get my hands on maybe the mini one.
Yep.
It's the XL. I don't ever foresee myself needing the XL. That's too. Maybe you socks if you're taking all of your Legion.
No, because I would still need, with how big some of my stuff are. Like I said, my ATST is about 9 inches tall. So if I were to take that along with some of my flyers, I would probably need 2 or 3 XLs. Or like you said, I just buy 1 XL and then a bunch of extra trays.
So the XL is 12 inches deep, 14.5 inches tall on each side, and there's 2 of those bays. So that's a lot you could put in there. One of the things I saw was someone put 10k points of Stormcast Eternals in an XL.
Yeah, that's a bit nuts.
Right, I mean, who has 10? Okay, yeah, that's gonna take up some space. Yeah, you're right, Socks.
And it's on a flight stand. It's a 4-inch flight stand. So
whatever.
and you've built that so that you can't pull it apart, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
that was your first mistake.
But in the world of custom foam, where it's designed to hold this and that's it, and the world of pluck foam, where eventually that starts to fall apart, and the world of the metal sheet with a magnet on the bottom of it, and it's there and it sticks. Also, why I hate metal models. This was pretty nice to find, because all the other metal options I found, they're really big or really expensive. Just the insert alone for the battle foam one for the magnetic trays, just the insert alone, the simple basic insert is $130 just for that tray, and it's it's set heights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This it's like
you can buy different levels of them, but they're in addition. It comes in like a standard pack.
Yeah. This one you get it, and it's like you can move the shelf a 1/4 inch at a time.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was a great option. I thought a couple of them were a great price point. The standard and the mini, the XL.
I think the mini is the standout here. The mini, and I'm not hating on the other two. It's just the mini is the one that really stands out as the value to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I think the mid one is because then you can carry some of your bigger stuff and all your infantry too. So,
shall we discuss some hobby?
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
What have you been up to, Socks? How'd your tournament go?
So, what 2-1 in my tournament? Lost my last game. The guy that I played, he had 3
Loser.
I know. He had some. He pretty much had a army that pretty much was able to control the center of the board, and a lot of the objectives in Legion have to do with something in the center, like a piece of terrain that you're fighting over in the center, or some other terrain pieces, or objectives that deal with the center. And so he was able to control the center. So unfortunately, I lost that game, but I have another one this Saturday. So we'll see how that one goes.
Another tournament?
Another tournament, yeah.
That came up quickly.
Yeah. Jordan, the guy that we just interviewed from Luminous Gaming, he's running it again at our local store. It's normally on the second Saturday of each month, but last month there were some conflicting issues with the store in terms of scheduling, so that's why it was later on in the month than normal. So yeah, it's quick. There's a 3-week gap in between last tournament and this one, but hopefully sense. my new list will be up and running and won't be fully painted because I got so much stuff going on this week that I won't be able to finish painting it, which is why I've been working on this guy, because I'm taking him. So,
well, I figured that you had to have been working on him because I know that's a new mini. So, yeah,
I'm actually bringing 2 of them. I've got a second one over there that I've put together. I got to try and paint, but it's not gonna be ready because I've got kids that got too much stuff going on right now with extracurricular activities and stuff like that. Yeah, so
between that and your new yard guest, you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, the possibly 4-foot gator that I have in my backyard in the 200 to 300 foot pond that's back there. So yeah, George, what have you been working on?
Sweating.
That's not hard.
Yeah. I really haven't done much except I've been more active on reading what's going on at Mythic.
Yeah.
Because Mythic isn't replying to anything really except, well, I sent you the one, response of, oh yeah, we're working on a response to this. We should have it out this Friday. But probably not. Guess what? They didn't post an update on Friday.
Yeah.
I sent a message last week.
I think there's trouble there.
Yeah, we usually respond to stuff, in 5 to 10 business days. Well, I've had 5 business days, no response.
And then been doing that for 12 months.
Well, so they have a canned response that they send out that say, "Hey, we got this. We'll reply to it eventually."
Okay. Yep.
So, and then the other thing I learned too, the Sam, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was a big part of the Wednesday updates, and that's why updates have kind of fallen to the wayside. Is because he's no longer with them to help push those weekly or with the Wednesday updates.
If Sam is gone, that makes me worry a bit.
So,
I mean, he is based in another country because he's from the US.
Right.
Are you familiar with where Sam came from?
No, I'm not.
He's from Dice Tower.
Okay.
As in the giant YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay.
That's where he comes from.
So, I've been doing a lot of reading, trying not to get too frustrated and discouraged. But yeah, that's been my hobby.
I think there's some significant reasons to be worried about Mantic because
Mythic.
Mythic. Sorry. Communication has not been getting better, and communication is usually a sign of really bad things when it starts falling aside.
Yeah. So
there's only one thing that's worse than that, and that's where the communication is blatant lies, which is not what they've been doing.
Yes.
I don't get the impression that they would, because I don't know.
Now, and I know this is hobby,
those
and
that are advertising. Yeah, usually those that are going into the lying territory are ones that feel like they could get away with it. None of them ever do. Our Patreon will know exactly who I'm referring to.
Now that being said, I did see some because Gen Con is going. They were set up at Gen Con, and they had a large display of retail Super Fantasy Brawl. So,
Okay. Well, Super Fantasy Brawl being at retail is good. That is what we were promised.
yep. I don't know if I ever mentioned this in the last issue that I had with this, where we actually talked about this during Game Talk, Bruce. This game that I'm waiting for and I backed is not coming to retail. It is a Kickstarter exclusive only game. So that's another reason
Super
why
Fantasy
there's a
Brawl
lot of...
was the first of theirs that they were promising to do at retail. And I stand by what I've said in the past. I think Kickstarter exclusive games is a bad mistake. Sometimes it's because it's not actually an exclusive. It's because they know that they will never get retail space. Because things have to be a certain size to get retail space. Big box games don't tend to go very well from a store perspective because they take up too much room. It's the same
Which
with
is
the
why
toy
I
industry.
think,
That's why you don't get
which
big
is why
box
I think
toys anymore.
Bad Crow Games only went Kickstarter exclusive for Company Heroes is because the box is
Too
a
big.
good 6 inches.
Yeah.
It's really big, and then you have all your expansion packs to go along with it.
Yeah.
You're right. It would be really hard for a game store to put that much stock on a shelf and try and sell it.
So that's been my hobby, is sitting here worrying and reading.
Fair. There's been a bit more of my time that's gone into my secret project. The secret project is not a new game that I brought. It's something related to our hobby that's to the side. Our Patreon knows exactly what it is. Our Patreon and a few of my friends, like it's not just Patreon, but
Yeah, we know too.
Yeah, I said friends. Patreon have exclusive access to the document that's being worked on. And there have been photos out there that might give hints as to what's going on. But yeah, I've been putting more time into that. I also started building the new Eldar Guardians set because I unboxed that on the channel recently. Part of what I wanted to do is I wanted to build them and at the end of the video actually have a look at how the models looked. And then I dropped one of the legs. When I dropped one of the legs, a hole opened in space and time. Games Workshop came from their offices in the UK, stole the leg, and didn't return it for 4 days. Because it took me 4 days on my hands and knees while I was sick with COVID to find the leg. In the end, it was in one of my shoes.
Do you know why you're on your hands and knees, Bruce?
Because it's where I don't know. Is it where I belong?
Because you only had one leg to stand on.
Sure. That was pretty desperate, that one. So yeah, I still haven't finished building those Guardians. Like the leg did, like obviously my comments about the black hole and stuff are facetious. Like I dropped it, and I watched what went, and it was just gone. And because I was homesick, I wasn't wearing my shoes because I was homesick. I had no reason to put them on, so I didn't. Like it somehow bounced into the shoe. And it didn't get dropped from a very large height. I was sitting down at the time. So, that's really weird.
Oh, I did something else. I actually was at my hobby bench this last week, and I did something, and I discovered something terrible.
Yeah?
And this will not shock you at all. The expression on your face will not change one bit, Bruce.
Okay.
Of the 6 Games Workshop paint pots I opened up, only one was still viable.
Yeah, that checks. That checks.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been It's been a frustrating couple of weeks for me. Let's just say that. Look, as much as this, I was home and but no, I didn't really get any hobby done because I was just suffering, pretty much.
Did you lose your sense of taste?
Yes. I still kind of feel like it's... I had an egg and bacon roll yesterday and really, it just tasted so bland. So I think my taste is actually still coming and going. Because I am out, and my taste has been back for a while, but that just, there was no taste. I didn't finish it, and it was an egg and bacon roll.
I know this is
I'm a big fan of.
I know this is all completely unrelated. Have you had COVID yet, Socks, or no?
I think I have, just very mildly, and I haven't lost either one of them. So
because
that's common.
When I had it and I lost my sense of taste, that was like a standard chicken nugget, mechanically separated, repacked, covered in breading, just cheap chicken nuggets. Who doesn't love those, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Any kid in the world?
Right, exactly. And it was the easiest thing for me to eat because I also had a bad case of nausea with that too. So it's like I could eat a nugget, wait 10 minutes, eat a nugget, wait. And it just felt like this meat paste with sauce scraping across my tongue that had no flavor to it. And it was like the weirdest thing in my life.
My taste seemed to come and go a bit. It wasn't permanent like that. It kind of came and went as the week unfolded.
So, for those of you who haven't had COVID, if that's what you have to possibly look forward to. For those who have had it and have lost their sense of taste, you feel me on that.
I will take a political stance that shouldn't be a political stance. Get yourself vaccinated. It would have been a lot worse for both of us if we hadn't have. I have seen it physically with my own eyes. So, not nice. Unless, of course, you're allergic, which is a different conversation.
Right. Are we still going to do the game talk, or do we want to do something else that's maybe less time-consuming?
Well, we've only got one ship to cover, but it is an in-depth ship.
Talk nerdy to me.
All right. So,
talk nerdy to me, Bruce.
Back into Drop Fleet Commander this week, we are covering the Resistance Light Cruiser. So, why is there only one of them? George, why is there only one of them?
Because it's the Resisti, and it's a modular ship.
Yes.
You get to pick the weapons. You get to pick the weapons.
Pick your own adventure.
Yep, quite literally.
Oh, I remember those books.
Remember those books? That's from a long time ago. Bruce, do you even know what you're talking about?
Yeah, I used to have one that was about a mummy.
Okay.
That was chasing you through the museum and the streets, and then it turned up in your bedroom somehow. Anyway, okay, so the Resistance Light Cruiser, its base form will cost you 60 points. It's got 3 hard points and a minimum of 3. So you have to use all 3. It's got a 4-inch scan, a 4-inch signature. It's got a 9-inch thrust. Got a hull of 8, armor is 5+, point defense of 2, comes in groups of 2 to 3, medium tonnage, and its special is Subsystem Network, which we have covered before. It also comes with NC3 missiles, which is your close action weapon. Lock of 4+, 2 attacks, 1 damage each, front, side, and rear, because, well, it's close action. So, you get 3 hard points. You've got structures that you can add, broadsides that you can add, and turrets that you can add. In the structures, you have a scanning array, which will increase your scan by 10 inches for 10 points. There's ablative armor.
4 inches.
Sorry?
4 inches. It's a 4-inch. You said 10.
Yeah, 4 inches for 10 points.
I thought you said 10 inches.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Ablative armor gains the ablative armor special rule for 12 points. Again, we've covered this before. The ablative armor is the one where it increases your... it makes your armor better for a certain amount of time until you take a certain amount of damage. From memory.
Yeah, once you become crippled, your armor goes down by 2, maybe 1 or 2,
That's it, yeah.
something like that.
Drive refit. It increases your signature and your thrust by 2 inches for 10 points. So you're not going to be able to take all of those. You would only be able to take one of those. But you need to take a minimum of 2 broadsides, which means...
It's a PHR ship.
It means that it limits your option a little bit. So there is N31 hybrid gun banks for 5 points and 8 artillery banks for 5 points. You've got NC-16 missile banks for 18 points. Sorry, for 8 points. You got fighters and bombers for 10 points. Bulk lander and fire ships for 10 points. And then in your turrets, you have XN-31 mass drivers for 5. N11 artillery cannons for 5. Bombardment mortars for 5. Or vent cannon turrets for 8. So, this is where we are going to have to add things. So, your N31 hybrid gun banks. If we add those, they've got a 4+ lock. You get 3 attacks at 1 damage each. You will notice when you add them that it gives you 1 on the left and 1 on the right because it's a broadside, therefore they are linked. You will find it's the same with the artillery bank. That's a 5+ though, but you get 5 attacks at 1 point. And now I can't seem to find out how to remove things.
Down at the bottom. I had to figure it out. Down where it says...
Yep. So NC-16, 3+, D3 + 2 attacks, 1 damage, still linked. And then fighters and bombers are a little bit more obvious because it's fighters and bombers. Personally, I like the N16 missile bank. Personally, it's the one that I would probably go for at your 8 points. It is slightly more, but you got a minimum of 3 attacks, a maximum of 5. Like it's a fairly decent amount of attacks. It's only 3+. It makes it a lot easier to hit things with. I just think you can get more out of them, personally. And then otherwise, I would either be increasing the structures or the turrets accordingly.
I'm still trying to pull it up because for some reason it will not load in my browser.
Oh, awesome.
I know. So I'm using my beta testing Firefox. Because it won't open in Google Chrome. Or Firefox.
XN31 mass drivers are the 2+, 1 attack, 1 damage. They're the ones with the fuselage. They are usually quite effective. It is only 1 attack though, but it's a 2+, so it means that you're getting more out of it. The N11s are a 4+. You get 3 attacks at 1 each. Low power. So it means that you could use multiple of those without having to go weapons free. That's probably what I would add to my missile banks, because then I can actually get more shots off without actually having to risk being easier to be seen. I think that might be a nice combination to go with. It means that you'd have some attacks. So if I go down here, remove everything. If I add my missile bank, because I really like my missile bank, and then I add my N11 artillery cannon, because I really like those. And I'll add 2 missile banks just because, well, I have to have a minimum of 2 things. So
it's a maximum of 2 broadsides.
Oh, maximum.
But you have to have...
that's even better. Okay, never mind. So...
But you're still looking at 81 points if you were to take 2 broadsides of missiles with that turret. You're looking at 81 points apiece, which isn't bad for 2 cruisers, 2 light cruisers.
Yeah. So I've just built one now. I have added the scanner array, which makes it easier for me to see my enemy so I can shoot at them. I've added a missile bank, which is the 3+, the D+2s, because I like those, and the artillery cannons, because they're low power, which means that I can use them at the same time without having to go weapons free. And in total, I can actually still add something else. So I'm going to add another artillery cannon. No, it's playing up. It's doing something weird. Why are you allowing me to add things endlessly? Okay, it's currently playing up. Never mind. Oh, no, it does tell me off. It tells me off at the top.
Yeah, it tells you that you can't have any more. Because if you go down to this, if you scroll down to the bottom where it shows you can remove stuff, if you add more than your maximum, it won't let you add the actual ship anymore. That little button to add the ship goes away.
So, yeah, there we go. That's how they work. Well, I really like these. That they work really well. You can customize your fleet to play the way that you want it to play. It's just as simple as that. Just because that's the one that I like, it doesn't mean that that's the one that you will like. I mean, there's no real bad weapon options. It's just there are some that are going to be easy to I'm definitely going to be going so I don't have to roll 4s and 5s because Lord knows I'm never going to hit them.
Well, so, and I'm going to argue that this is the best light cruiser in the game because
I just added
you can
two of them for 166 points with all of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just nuts.
Well, here's my reason why it's the best light cruiser in the game, regardless. Okay, here's why. What does your fleet need? It needs whatever you can add onto it on those 3 hard points.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you need 30 shots, that you don't care if they're hitting on 4s or 5s, you can do that. If you need something that's going to punch a hole, you can do that. I mean, this is probably one of the coolest models in a game, any game, period. I mean, sure, you've got your Games Workshop tanks where, this can be this gun or this gun, this or this. I mean, it's really close to that, but you have typically 2 options for 2, maybe 3 points.
Yep.
What we got here? We've got 3 options on 1 point, 5 options on another, 4 on another. I mean, that is a lot of customability.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
It's not just on the light cruiser; it's on the entire Resistance faction. I mean, it's a pick and choose of whatever you want, kind of a suit your play style, and then you're able to fill in the void, like you said, with any other ship out there. I mean, you've got a 160 points left over. All right, I'm going to put together a couple of light cruisers and go with it.
Yep. Yeah. The Resistance is a playstyle that could be very, very powerful if you build it the right way, but don't go into the Resistance expecting that you're just going to floor everyone, because it's kind of like, yes, you can do a lot of things, but it doesn't really master anything either. There is definitely a different type of challenge there, which will be a good thing for some people, not for others. But, yeah. Upcoming events?
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
First question, Socks. When's your next Legion tournament? After this carrying on?
A week from today.
A week from today? Do you know the date for the next one yet?
Planning on doing one in September, just because I think between this one and last month's being 3 weeks away, 3 weeks in between, I think he's kind of needing a break. So I may try and do a Armada tournament that Saturday if I can get stuff thrown together. If not, it'll be in October.
Okay, so. Fair enough. Watch this space then. Okay, PAX West, September 2nd till 5th. PAX Australia, I will be there, October 7th till 9th. PAX Unplugged. So on the PAX Australia, the 3-day passes are sold out. Saturday's passes are 50% sold, no, 60% sold out at this stage. So Saturday being the biggest of the 3 days. If you want to go on Saturday, you probably want to start looking at those tickets now or it'll be too late. PAX Unplugged is December 2nd till 4th. Otherwise, thank you very much to those that support us. If you enjoy our content, please consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/gettingtabled. You get early access to almost everything that we do. You get early access to my secret project, which is slowly coming together, actually. Should be testable within a few months, hopefully. I'm actually surprised at how close a lot of it came together. If you want to follow us at facebook.com/gettingtabled. It's the first place most stuff gets shared. We're also on Twitter @gettingtabled, Instagram @gettingtabled. We have a website, which is gettingtabled.weebly.com. We have a YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/gettingtabled. We've been growing slowly. We're getting there. We're very happy to be getting some of those numbers out. We are releasing videos 2 times a week. It's usually Monday and Thursday, but not always. I'm actually considering changing it to Tuesday and Thursday, just to try and spread out that week a little more. And then every second week we have our video episode that'll go out next week. And otherwise, if you'd like to reach out to the team, gettingtabled@gmail.com. And if you're on Twitch, check me out on Mondays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. local time, twitch.tv/Jason the Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.